name is Evelyn Litsky. I was born in Starkweather, North Dakota, August 11th, 1913. I was a premature baby. We lived in my mother cooked for this hotel, so we had rooms in the hotel. And we didn't have any place to fix a bed for me, and I was so tiny, and she'd wrap me in sheets and things, and she kept me in a dresser drawer. And she'd leave this a little bit open so I could breathe, and the doctor said that was fine as long as I was kept warm, and I survived. Well, I have 5 children, 14 grandchildren, 23 great-grandchildren, and 7 great-great-grandchildren. I had 4 brothers, but I did not have any, 4 half-brothers, but call them brothers, but I didn't have any sisters. I always wanted a sister. My brother died, and they didn't have funerals in those days. They just had little ceremonies in your house. And my mother had got this casket. It was beautiful white satin. And he was laying in there, and he looked like he was just sleeping, you know, and I wanted him to wake up. I was only, I think, 6. And I went in there, and I was shaking him. Billy, wake up. Billy, wake up. And my mother come in and grabbed me and took me out of the room. She said, oh, you can't talk to him, honey. He's gone to heaven. I remember my grandfather, we lived out here, and he drove an old Ford. There was a special name for him. There were just like 2 people could sit in this old Ford. And he drove it all the way from North Dakota out to Detroit to visit us. And he was 80-some years old then. My grandmother, well, she was always very sickly. I don't remember a heck of a lot. Oh, I remember her cooking. She was always cooking something or baking. She loved to cook and bake. And she was always chasing the cats. We had umpteen cats around the house, and because on a farm you got mice, you got lots of cats, because they got lots of food. They can eat the mice, so you always have a lot of both of them. Yeah, we never had a big house. There was, the one house we lived in, I think we had 4 rooms. We'd have like maybe 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a utility room, they called it. And I used to have, my brothers would sleep this way in the bed, and I would get the foot. And I would have the foot of the bed. We all slept in the same bed, because we only had 2 beds. So either that or you slept on the floor. And half the time if it was warm weather, the guys would sleep on the floor. No, we had outhouses. You had to go out and sit in this one hole here and one hole here, and you always took something even to look at, or you sit there and watch the world. Oh, it was exciting, really. Every once in a while you'd see these odd worms in there. We knew there was a storm coming up, and he'd come to the door, Mom, I gotta go to the potty. And she said, well, you can't go out right now, you gotta wait. No, I can't hold it. And he just takes off, and the potty was like, 20 feet from the house. And he runs, and just as he goes to get in it, the thing takes off, and it knocked him on the ground. If he'd have been in the toilet, he'd have, Lord knows where he'd ended up. We had these big trough things that the horses, they have the water in it for the horses to drink. And we used to get in there and go wading. We didn't have any pools, but we thought that was fun. Yeah, the horses didn't like it, though. Yes, I played Old Maid, and I played hearts, and we played a kid's kind of poker. We played rummy. Yes. We played hide and go seek. We played
Look at me
jump the rope. That was a good one we always played. Hide and go seek, I said that. Tag, and we played our game that everybody played together was baseball. We had baseball teams. Oh, we play hopscotch. We played a lot, and we used to throw things up. We had these little BB gun things. They weren't real BBs though. I don't know what kind of BB guns they are. We'd throw sticks and things up in the air and shoot them down. We did that all the time. And of course you could go in the wheat fields and play hide and go seek. That wheat was higher than you was. And you'd just wander around in there and people had a hard time finding you. My dolls, naturally, they're still my favorite. I lived on a farm a lot. Now, my grandmother had a stroke, and we had to take care of her until my family moved out to her farm to take care of her. That was for about 3 years. No, we didn't have to do any work. No, we never had that kind of a farm. Men that come in, they call them thrashers, and they'd come in with these big machines because the farmers couldn't afford the machines, and they would rent them out. And you paid so much to use this machine, and then they'd, get your food. Our chore was to make the beds, and there were over 20 beds, and we got through with beds that was supper time. Never worked with allowance when I was young. Always had a piggy bank. Not necessarily a pig, but I had a piggy bank. I saved it. I'd get enough to do something with it. Wouldn't buy anything cheap. We always went to Sunday school, and the way we go, we had, like we call them, drays, and they were like long board, like a big truck without anything up on them, just a board, and the horses pulled them. And you sat back there with blankets all around you, and you went to church, and we thought that was great, that we could ride to church. Yeah. Then one time I got a little older, and my girlfriend and I decided we were going to stop at this church. They were having some kind of a rally, and it was a Baptist church. So the preacher came up and he says, "Would you girls like to get baptized?" So my girlfriend, she was a daring one, and we said, "Yeah, we'd like that." So they took us in a little back room and just talked to us. They didn't do any water or anything like that. They just talked to us. So we were supposed to be Baptists then, but I wasn't a Baptist. But I always went to try to go to church someplace. Teacher, and she had to teach all these different classes, so she would teach so many, then she'd go to another class, and there wasn't many kids in the classes. Well, they had the school buses, or else if you lived close enough, you walked. We loved to play cards, and we loved to sing. We would all get together and sing. If we went somewhere in a car, they'd mention a song, and then everybody'd singing. Drive whoever was driving the car crazy. One guy, Johnny, that I had a crush on, we were going to get married at one time. And there was the drummer in the band that... Well, they had not streetcars, but they had some kind of bus. They call them utility buses in those days. They weren't exactly big buses. They were small buses. They would go around the neighborhoods, and they had a certain route, and they'd pick up people. But Most everybody walked or you rode a bike. No, my brothers did. I never could master the bike. I couldn't balance it. I didn't ride. I was scared to death of the horses. I'd like go up and pet them, but I was afraid to ride them. After we moved to Detroit. To Michigan, I was about 12. My dad worked for the railroad, and I don't know what happened, whether he got hurt or something, but anyway, they said they were going to transfer him to Michigan, and we went first to Ohio. We stayed at my aunt's for about a week, but we didn't like it there, and so then he got in hold with somebody, and they got him a job in Detroit, and he worked in Detroit until the war came on, and then he worked for the DP&W. He worked on the streets. I met him at a bar where I worked. I was a checkout girl in the checkout clothes, and he was a salesman, and he was selling supplies. He came in, and he always stopped and talked to me a little bit. Normally, mostly take the time, we go out and have something to eat, and then we like to go to Belle Isle, nice big park there in Detroit, and we just drive around. About 2 years. Well, I guess you'd call us a honeymoon on my birthday, stuff like that. We went to my aunt's in Springfield, Ohio. We made us, we went and stayed in a hotel. And when we come to her house to have breakfast, we made all the fried chicken and all the stuff for breakfast. We got a big kick out of that. I had a birthday party for one of the kids. I can't remember which one. And we didn't know what to get to feed with. So he went out and he bought these big cardboard things with ice cream in them. And there were 2 flavors. And he'd stand beside of the house at the table and he'd dish me the ice cream going out. There was about 20 kids there. And I got a big kick out of that, so we rarely seldom did anything like that. Dancing with him. Every time we go somewhere, we dance, everybody stops and watch it. And he was looking forward to the split field, but didn't quite make it. Well, just seeing how good my kids all turned out. All of my children are, are good kids, and they're all religious. No, just names out. Yeah. I know I was named Aunt May. They put a middle name, but I don't know where they got Evelyn from. I don't know. Names just popped up, I guess. Unto others, as you would do unto yourself. Oh, we like to go on, I wouldn't say camping trips, like I took you guys and we went all the way up to Michigan in the car, drove up there. We used to go on trips like that and spend a couple days maybe. Or a lot of places, ponds to get in. We could go out to Belle Isle and swim there, and we had, when we lived in Dearborn, we had the pool, our city pool that we could go, and I never went in too much, but your kids did all the time. I didn't play that many games with you. I played cards with you, but not a lot, because you didn't want me around. Yeah, one of my favorite ways to pass my time was to cook. Especially I like to bake. But my kids like my breakfasts. They like my French toast and my cinnamon toast. And I had a big oven. I had a commercial oven. And I would go through a loaf of bread for 5 kids. And just putting cinnamon and butter. Package of butter. And they'd sit there and one slice of toast after another. And then I used to make pancakes and waffles. They loved those too. Yeah, and they loved my kitchen, which I tiled myself. Yeah. I think I was about 14. And this man my mother knew, he said he needed somebody to keep an eye on the front of his shop while he was working in the back. He had a dry cleaning place. So he asked me if I wanted to work for a couple hours after school. And so, oh yeah, you know, that would be great. I wouldn't make much money, but it would be great. So, okay, so got through the couple hours and I got ready to go home. The first thing he does is make a grab for me. So I said, well, goodbye. That was it. He didn't want me to help him. Worked as a waitress. I love being a waitress and waiting on people and seeing them smile and laugh because they got good stuff. I like that. I worked as a sales lady for a while, but I didn't make much money because I bought the clothes and took my kids' clothes home. I didn't like doing dishes. I loved to iron. We had an iron right, and I loved to iron. But, no, I didn't love the housework too much. Well, I never drove until I was 45, so. My husband he was gone a lot, and he worried about things happening to the kids getting sick, and he says, you gotta do something. So he goes and he buys me a car. He come home and he parked in front of the house. He says, there's your car, now learn to drive it. From Detroit to Dearborn, which is on the outskirts, and that was a wonderful place to live. And then my brother-in-law opened a variety store, the first Morway store. And he asked my husband to come and manage one of them. So my husband and I went up first, and we got an apartment. We had a snack bar and sold caramel corn, popcorn, and the ice cream that comes out of the, I don't know what to call that anymore, but one of those ice cream makers. And we sold some sandwiches, but not a lot. Oh yeah, I made pies. I would make the pies at home and then I'd bring them down to the restaurant and they would be all baked for the next day. Yeah, and of course I made the hamburgers and the french fries, nothing to make in them. I made chili. The guys, all the drivers raved about my chili. They'd come in for my chili. My family in California was coming to Milwaukee to visit. So we were going to take them out to dinner. And then my husband says, oh, that's going to be a heck of a thing to do because all the kids are with them and everything. Why don't we just shut the door and let them come in the restaurant and we'll make them anything they want. So, okay. So that's what we did. So ask her, they made their own pizzas. They made sundaes. They made hamburgers. They made french fries. Anything they wanted you had. All the Cokes, I don't know how many Cokes you guys drank. Oh, but they had a great time, and everybody's coming and knocking on the window, and we says, no, family only, and they're standing there watching us. But Mike still remembers it. He talks about it. What's Mike, 40-some years old? Yeah?
53.
53. So right across the street there was like one shop in the middle of about 6, and it was just a small one. but the man was going to give it to us free at first to see if it worked, because he was leery about this busy fingers working. I had this concept that there were so many people that had crafts to sell, because there was a nursing home close to us and a senior center, and these people, they had no place to take their stuff and sell it. So I thought, well, gee, why don't we sell their stuff for them, and we'll keep 10% to pay for our rent and our utilities, our electricity, and all that stuff. Well, we just I went to the senior center and I gave a little speech and told them all about it, so everybody was all excited. Well, when are you open? I said, well, I'll open next week if you're all ready. Have you got stuff? Oh, yeah, we got stuff. Well, they did. They brought Afghans, piles like this of Afghans, and they sold like crazy. In fact, some people would be waiting for the door to open because they could see what kind of Afghan somebody was bringing in. And they didn't want much for them. Yeah, they were real cheap. And baby clothes. Oh. They made the little outfits with the sweaters and the booties and all that stuff. And people would grab them right up away, you know. The man gave us some more room, and I had a place in the back because I made macrame. And I made wall hangings and these like a long bath thing, and they had a basket on the bottom, and you put plants in it, and you hung it on your porch. And I sold a lot of those for about $25 a piece. And it took me about 15 minutes to make them because I could macrame real fast. Well, I never sold any of those in there. That was a hobby of mine. I always demonstrated those at the State Fair because a lot of people didn't know how to do rag rugs. And the kids his age were very interested in something like that. Well, how do you get that ball of rags? So I showed them how you tear all the sheets. You got to tear them just a little wider in your finger, and then you don't sew them together. You just keep wrapping them. You make this ball, and go on and on and on, and then you get as big as you can handle it, and then you quit. And then you crochet. You have to learn to crochet first, though. And then you crochet these rags, and you go in this circle, and every once in a while you have to make an extra stitch so you get some leeway, and you get these rugs. And I made some beautiful rugs. In fact, I think Joanne has one of them right now, a blue one. I never sold any quilts. I gave my quilts away, or still got them. You have one, and I don't know how many people have them. Joanne has one, I know. Everybody's got a baby's quilt. Oh, I did beadwork. You know, made stuff with beads. You'd crochet and put the little beads on. And oh, I think I liked the crocheting the best, because you could sit and do it any old time, and it didn't. But it got so my fingers so much arthritis in them I can't work a needle anymore. Oh, do I miss it?
Yeah.
Oh, naturally. Yeah, I always sewed. I made clothes for myself and before I got children, and then when I got children I made clothes for them. And I made one dresses they wore to their grandma's what was the 50th anniversary, wasn't it? Yeah. And they had a couple dresses. The dresses were just kind of fancy, and they had this round collar, and I embroidered things there and put lace around there. And one had pale purple, and the other, I think it was a pale blue. And the two girls had the dresses alike. And yeah, I always made my kids pajamas, the girls especially. But the girls, they always wanted matching pajamas, and they always got matching pajamas. Oh yeah, I loved to gardening, but we didn't always have a place we could garden. Well, I know I had this wisteria bush. My mother, I think, brought me back a slip from a wisteria plant. And we had a long fence that ran the whole length of our driveway. So I forget how long it was, but it was like half a block. Great big long driveway. and we had a fence all along that. So she brought 3 of those little plants, and we planted them. Well, the first year, nothing come up. Second year, we got a couple little sprigs up, but nothing. Third, fourth year, just little sticks coming up. And then all of a sudden, the next year, we were flabbergasted. All these beautiful wistorias from one end of the fence to the other. And these great big, I don't know if you know what wistorias are, but they're like lilacs. And they were these great big things hanging. And oh, everybody walked down the street. Oh, does that smell good? And they're still there, I think, too.
Yeah.
Oh, I like roses. Oh, I like the yellow one. And I like the one we have in the front here, the salmon color with the flecks in it. I like any kind of songs, any kind of music. We didn't have so much variety as we have today, so here you have my rock and this and that and all that stuff. It's all together different kind of musics, but I liked all musics. Oh, I love the waltzes, slow dances, hug you tight. That was my favorite. And I liked the Charleston. My husband and I won a championship one time for doing the Charleston. I had a teacher. He was a Chinese man, a tall, big, very few tall Chinese. But this one he was a big, muscular man. And he taught us painting, and I think that was about the 4th grade. And this other young man and myself, we were just really something. We painted everything, and I just caught on then. And that was watercolors. Was it just the water paints? And then when I could afford it, I started buying oil paints, and I painted a lot with oil. My daughter has a few pictures here in the house that I painted, but I haven't done not much anymore except these ones on the felt. Yeah, one of my favorite things to do was to go, well, I don't know what we call it, just goofy shopping, and we'd go off in the morning and go to the yard sales, and then we'd go to the malls because all the shops had the stuff out in the aisle. They had sales. I don't know if they still do that anymore, but we always, and then when I ask my daughter when we go shopping, the first place when we go in is go where the back stuff's on the rack, go where they got the sales first. My daughter took me in a 99-cent store. They didn't have them in Wisconsin then. They do now, but they didn't then. And I tried to buy out the store. I think we took about $40, $50 worth of stuff home with us. That was a great thing for me. Ever since I was a kid, I loved to do puzzles. But I never did them as much as I do now because I didn't have the time to. They're fill-ins, what they call them, fill-ins, but they're crossword. You got to get a word going across this way to match a word going this way. A long time ago, I imagine I was about 8 or something at the time, and it was Christmas, and I'd always wanted a doll, and I didn't have one except something my grandma made out of rags. I never had a real doll, and my mother says, we're going down to the Elks Hall. They have Christmas parties, and the kids line up, and they'll give you a sack of candy and an orange. Oranges were big things in those days. You got an orange juice. A lot of money in an orange. So, okay, we go. So what do I get? They passed out presents. I got this doll. And it was a good size. It was about so big, a baby doll. And oh, I was so thrilled. When I got home, my mother, oh, I'll make some clothes for it. We'll dress it up, and all. We didn't have anything on a Christmas tree. So my dad went out and cut this bush off, and he fastened it into a box with some nails, and we put silver stuff all over and that was our Christmas tree. No, I didn't start collecting till after I closed my restaurant. But people were always giving me dolls because they knew I liked dolls. Right now I must have 1,000. The only thing I don't have much of is boy dolls. I have lots of bears and lots of animals, but I don't have any boy dolls. And if anybody has any boy dolls they don't want, they can send them to me. I'll find room for them. Right now, if they see a doll they like, well, you can take that one. And not too many of the dolls, no, because they all had, I like to keep the original clothes on them. But I would mend some, but I made a couple rag dolls by hand, but I don't know where in this room they are. They're in here somewhere. Oh, now see this doll here? This is my granddaughter in San Diego. She gave me this. And it's my favorite doll. And it's got this little baby here. And I think that is just great. And this whole thing came together. This is another dolly that my granddaughter Leanne got me. And this, a lady down in San Diego makes these. She even molds the heads, the little heads. Just like real hair on it. And it has a bonnet and booties somewhere, but I don't know where they are right this particular moment. But this is all handmade. She made all this little outfits. I think that's darling. Yeah, this is a doll that I made. It was a kit, and you got all the pieces, and then you made the whole doll. And it was for my granddaughter's communion list. I collect silver dollars, but I don't think anybody's going to send them to me. And what else do I collect? Oh yeah, blue glass plates, which my daughter has hanging on her dining room wall. I have a collection of angels, and those are at my daughter Mary's in Milwaukee, because I couldn't bring them with me, and she had a big cabinet, and she put them in there, so she's keeping them for me. Probably a plum. Don't ask me why. Oh, I think the one I had out here when I was 80. I had it at a park, and they told me I was going there to do something. I forget what it was, and I just had these crazy old torn shorts on and looked like a nut, and these people were hiding behind a tree from out of town, and they popped out at me. Oh, that was Papa and Janie. They're both gone too. I'll see them one of these days. Well, I remember my 86th birthday. It was the craziest day. I was sitting in my living room watching a Howard Holly show.
Howie Mandel.
Yeah, and I started to fall asleep. And all of a sudden I hear the phone ring. So I jumped up and I had to go around the wall into my kitchen. And I picked up the phone and hi, Evelyn, Litsky. And I said, yes, Litsky, you're on the TV. I said, just a minute, let me go see. So I run into the kitchen and I look, and sure enough, he's there on the TV. And he says, and here's your daughter, Barbara. And they panned to Barbara in the audience with this big sign, welcome, happy birthday. And I about fell out of my chair, and then he started chattering about my other daughter, and they panned on my other daughter, Mary, over on the other side of the room. And they were passing jokes back and forth. Him and Barbara were pretty good at that. And finally he says, well, we got to get on with this program. We'll all sing happy birthday to you, and then we'll sign off. And everybody in the audience, they all sang happy birthday. And he hands Barbara this big bottle of oil to bring home to me. And I still have that oil, of oil, and his autograph on it.
Can you see it?
Time we ever went to a fair or a carnival, the first thing you go, I said, well, let's go look up that place that checks your weight. Well, age and weight both. They'd always check that stuff, and I'd always win, and we'd take home prizes. We always had what we call Saturday morning movies, and all the kids could go and only cost us a nickel. And we've seen the regular movie, but it started out it wasn't talkies. You just seen the picture, but no sound, or they'd play the music in the background. And then they finally went into the talkies. And I can't remember that man that played with the flappy feet. Charlie Chaplin, yeah. But he wasn't really Charlie Chaplin. There's a different one at Disneyland now. But he had clever shows. Oh, I like Gene Kelly. I love to watch him and Fred Astaire dance. That was two of my favorites. No, I just played regular baseball with the kids. I never... Well, I was in the gym. I did a high jump, if anybody knows what a running high jump they call it, where you run and you jump over the... You seen that? That was my category. Dodgers and Detroit Tigers. Oh, that's the Lakers, naturally. I'd like to spend the day with Kobe. Kobe and his family, because I think his little girls are just darling. I would say, Kobe, can I hug your little girls? Because a lot of people don't like to have their children hugged. Right. And I would want to make sure I could do that. I wouldn't want to hurt his feelings or the little girl's feelings. Yeah, talking about Kobe, I remember when I was in the hospital, I'd had a mild heart attack. And they had signed me up to have a, can't think of what they call it, where they go in and go run a thing up and find out where the blockage is. And they knew I had 80% blockage. So I had to have an operation in the morning. So the Lakers were playing that night. And I said, oh, I don't want to miss the Lakers. Don't put me to sleep. And the nurse says, oh, no, we won't put you to sleep for in the morning. You can watch them. So then the two boys that were on the floor there, they come in, and they sat on the side of the bed, and we're all in there watching the Lakers. And somebody brought a sign in, and we hung it up on the wall, which I have a picture on my wall over here. The Lakers sent me the picture of me by the bed and everything. And the next morning I had the operation on my heart. I love to travel. And when my husband and I closed our Busy Fingers shop, why, we decided that we were going to do some traveling. So the first we booked a cruise. We flew out to Barbara's, and from there we took the cruise. We went through the Panama Canal. Panama Canal, that's a wonderful thing if you ever get a chance to go see it. And we came back to Florida and got off. Well, then we decided his aunt lived there, we'd go visit her. And then she asked about some other relatives who were still up in North Dakota. Well, okay, we'll drive up there. We had nothing to do, and we had the car, so we took off and went up to North Dakota. And we drove all around there, and then we come back and went through the Grand Canyon and seen all that kind of stuff. I never did get to Niagara Falls. I really missed that, or New York. Well, one time we drove. A couple times we took the train that goes all the way through, and that's a nice trip. You can look out the windows, and you have the meals on the train and all that stuff, and it's nice. But it's nice to drive too. We drove all through the mountains out in there. You can't believe how high those mountains are here in California, in Colorado. Yeah, well, one trip that I never will forget. It's the craziest thing in the world, but I'd only been driving, I think, about a week. And we decided we were all I was going to take my kids and go on a trip. My husband didn't want to go. He had to go out of town. So, okay, so the kids piled in the car. So the first motel we stopped the first night, that was in Chicago. And we were right on the lake, and they gave us a special room because they knew my husband from business. And we had a good time there, but the only thing, the girls couldn't go up in the elevator in their swimsuits. So they had to chase them around, go in the back, and come up in the freight elevator to get to our room. So I came up here, and so they planned this trip for me that I would go with this bus up to and stop at these little places and stay all night. It was a 3-day trip. So it was real nice. We stopped at that craft town, which I can't remember the name of it. And we stopped at Hearst Castle, and that was something to see. And I went on up to San Francisco. We got up there and we went around to different places, and then Barbara was going to meet me up there, and she was going to fly back with me because I was afraid to fly. And I says, no, I'm not getting on the plane. Oh yeah, I know, I'll drive. I'll get somebody to drive us back. No. Then the next day we're going to fly home. Well, first we were going to take a ride out around Alcatraz. And Barbara goes on there, and she no more gets on the darn boat, and she gets sick. So then she's done her part, so now it's me. I got to get on the darn plane. So I got on the plane, and she got on the boat. I loved it after that. I ride every... But now I'm very leery of them, and I don't think I want to go. Kennedy. I always liked him. Obama, and how that we should all be so proud of him, because he was handed all this stuff from about 4 presidents back. They all made a mess of things. From Clinton on, everybody made a mess. And he inherited all this stuff. And they're trying to blame him for it. And he didn't do any of it. He's trying to get us out of it. And he's doing a pretty good job. But whether he'll be able to accomplish it, I don't know. But the first president I voted for was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The cripple, and he was the man that started Social Security and all that kind of stuff. I would have been about 20 years old then. Oh yeah, what's the one guy that used to be with Johnny Carson? Ed McMahon. Yeah, was at a seminar one time, and he sat next to me, and he is a big man. Boy, he stood over me. I had to look up. He was a big guy. And then they took some pictures with my camera, and god darn if I didn't lose the camera there. So I haven't got the picture. Well, I admire Cindy. That's one person for the way she's raised her boys. I think they've got better teachers, and that helps. But they're very wise, and they're smart, because it's their world they're building. Yeah, and we didn't realize that. We thought the world was going to go on forever. It may, I don't know. I have one special bunch that I would like to tell people about, because I read one book. There's a series. She wrote 24 books, and it's all about cats. And the one I read was the cat who tried to sing. And this man that had the cats, somebody had left the cats, and he had to take care of them. And they were Siamese, they were thoroughbreds, and they don't eat certain things. They wouldn't eat anything like cats. They would certain things. And so they had a real broken down house, so he wanted to build a house, and this man come over, and there was an apple, they call it apple barn, but it was like a silo. It curled up, and it was this barn, but it was brick on the outside, and it was well made, And this man says, why don't you let me design a home here? So he did. He built this house inside there with the stairs going up and a beautiful big fireplace and everything. And everybody came just to see that house. It was marvelous. So that's where the cats live. And this book has so many different characters in it. It's just wonderful to read, and a lot of it's true stories about the country here, and you'd really like it, I think. Even a young person would like it. There's no crappy cussing words and no love scenes that you can't tolerate. It's just a good book. This woman that wrote it was Lillian Jackson Brower. Oh yeah, I've always read books, papers, anything I can get. Oh, I don't think I'd ever try to count them. Never even thought about counting them. But a lot of them. A lot of books. Oh, I generally read a book a day if I can get a hold of one. Sometimes I'll start a second one and Barbara will come in and say you had enough. Oh yeah. Yeah, I had Tiffany. She was a Siamese. And I had her for 15 years. And I had a little parakeet that was Tweety Pie. And I don't know if it was a she or a he, but it talked. We call it Tweety Pie. And it would, you know, when my daughter and I be sitting talking, it'd turn around, put your sweater on. It's cold. Put your sweater on. But it passed away too. I had it 15 years. Yeah, I remember my husband brought the TV home. We lived on Boston. And the cabinet was this big. And the TV was about this big. It's right in a little box at the top. And it was only in black and white. There was no color. But the kids loved it. They used to watch that commercial with the cigarettes. The Camel cigarettes, for the cigarettes would dance. I can't remember the name of it, but they'd sit there and watch that crazy commercial every night. I didn't care for it too much then, but as they got into the colors and the music and the dancing, then I started to love TV. But now I'm getting kind of disgusted because there's so much commercials, and most of them are things you don't use or you can't talk about, and I just don't enjoy it so much. Oh, I like Dancing with the Stars, and So You Think You Can Dance, and I like CNN. They get some pretty good things. And I like basketball and Kobe, and like to watch quilting shows and the eating shows. Oh, The Mentalist. Well, I like mysteries. And I like The Mentalist, and he's such a jolly guy all the time. And there's another one where you don't have all this gooey love stuff, which I think is ridiculous. Shrimps or ribs? No, I just watched her, because she was a cook. That was her job when I was growing up. She cooked in a restaurant. It wasn't her restaurant, but that she was the cook. So I always watched her, but I picked up things myself. And then when I come out here to Milwaukee, to your place, I had never sat down and watched cooking on TV. Oh, I can't eat steaks anymore. I can't do the chewing real good. I can't eat any spicy foods. I love spaghetti, but it doesn't agree with me. And so there's an awful lot of things I can't eat. Yeah, well, the only thing about getting old is you get to space where you don't have teeth. I'm lucky I have my own teeth. But you do get where you can't eat. I've got acid reflux, so that bothers you. And you can't chew this, and you can't chew that. But the best Christmas gift I ever got? Oh. I don't know. They've all been nice. I never consider one better than the other. All right. They're just all nice. But I got sick, and Barbara was worried because I was all alone. But I had the ladies' aid and all those kind of people that took care of me, so I didn't have to worry. But she says, no, I think you got to come home with me. So, okay. So I think we took a week and a half to pack up. I don't know how many boxes we sent you. 20, at least 20 boxes of stuff. And I left a lot of stuff there, and I had this room that I used for my crafts, my sewing. And it was just full of boxes of yarn and material that I had bought. I'd buy it by, like, say, 10 yards if I was going to quilt. And I had all this stuff in this room. And I says to my other daughter, they were going to clear up the house for me and sell anything that they could, or take what they wanted, or give it to whoever they wanted. And they said, well, we'll just tell at the senior center and some of the places that you got all this stuff. If they want it, come and get it. And she says these women went crazy. Well, I remember that because it happened more or less in the morning, like early morning. And everybody was screaming because they were sinking these ships. And oh, that was so terrible. But the worst part is when we went to visit Hawaii, we took the boat and went out on that harbor, and everybody got a flower, and you tossed, the man said prayers, and everybody tossed a flower in the water. Because all these, I think, 3 or 4 ships, and all these sailors were buried down in that water. And so it was really, it really got you. Oh, that's the one when my uncle drove the motorcycle for President, what was his, Pershing, I think it was. They had a little sidecar. They didn't have any other way to get around. No, he didn't ride a horse or anything. And so he had this motorcycle with a sidecar, and he sat in the sidecar, and my uncle rode the motorcycle. Well, the first one, not too much, because I was young then. But the second one, I lost a brother in there, and it was a lot more tragic. Yeah. We had to save all of our fat so they could make ammunitions with it. We didn't waste anything. We saved every little bit of something they had a use for it. And the men were all in the army, so they had all the factory and all the stuff at home was all women working. And we all had a job. We had to save things and wash things and mend things and send them to the soldiers, and all kinds of crazy things. But it all served a purpose. Now, I remember the moon landing. It was in 1969. But I can't remember the name of that man that was the first one up there. I know I seen that space capsule because they had it on display at the library, I think it was, or somewhere downtown. And we went to see it, and that was a small, it was about a fourth of this room. Just a little, not much bigger than this chair, the capsule. And he lived in that while he went up and come back. Yeah, I had a weird experience. I'm never going to forget it for the rest of my life. But I was in my bedroom when I was getting up, and I heard them all talking out in the kitchen. And I thought, what the heck is going on? Everybody's up so early, they're all out in the kitchen. Somebody must be making pancakes or something. So there was a way that you cut through Barbara's bedroom to get to the kitchen faster. And I went through there, and everybody's screaming, and she said, well, Mother, come here, quick, come here, watch this, watch this. And that was when the second plane hit the towers. I didn't get to see the first one, but I seen the second one. Oh my God, it's going to be the end of the world. That's what I thought. Everybody was going to get into it. But that was a terrible thing. I don't know, there's so few people had telephones, and they were so hard to operate because you had to crank them all up, and then there were one line, and everybody was on this one line, and if somebody was on there, you had to get off right away. Or you'd have to say, I got an emergency call, can I get through for a minute? And then they would get off and let you on. But it took a long time before they got a lot of telephones in. Well, there was the wireless. My uncle had a, oh, what did they call that station? It was like a depot. But he had all this wireless stuff, and he could send all these messages and everything. But the public couldn't use it, just Simmons and a couple other people in there that could use that. Oh, refrigeration was one thing. That was a wonderful thing to come along. We had the Iceman. He used to come twice a week and bring 25 pounds of ice and put it in our ice box. And that was how we kept things refrigerated. Or in North Dakota, it gets cold, so you put everything out, and we had boxes on the window, and you would just put stuff out in that little box, and that would keep it cold. Or we had what they call fruit cellars. Everybody went in the basement, they stored their stuff. And then they had these other, if you had a room, you built like a room off of your house, and when you butchered the cattle, you saved it in there because it got real cold. That's where you saved it, and you canned goods and put that there. It was just like a big storage room, and it worked real well. Well, they had some form of vacuum cleaners way back, but they weren't very efficient. Stoves became a tremendous difference because you had electric stoves and other kinds, but before we just had to put coal and stuff in this thing and get it all hot, and then you could cook something on it. It was wonderful when we got running water and didn't have to go out and pump the old well, and we had toilets in the house, and oh, it was great. You could take a bath, and the only thing we had to wait till they dug all these wells and got the water to come out, but it was wonderful. Oh, there's been so many things in medical. I think one of the best ones is antibiotics and vaccinations, and the fact the things that they're doing with the heart today, where they can just go in and run something up you and take the stuff out and put something in there, and you're gone for another couple years. That's really good, and now they're coming out with new pacemakers. They claim they'll last for years and years. I always thought it's a wonderful thing for women that somebody come up with Kotex.
Yeah.
I thought that was a wonderful thing. In fact, they've got painkillers. Yeah, because I couldn't exist without painkillers. Lipstick. That lipstick was hard to come by. But if you got a lipstick, why, everybody had lipstick on. And that was a great thing. And then somebody come around with the curling irons and stuff, and we could curl our hair. That was a great thing for us. Well, we wore the same, practically same things. The blue jeans, we call them blue jeans, and the sweatshirts, and the shorts. Girls had the short skirts, and they wore the leggings like they do today. An awful lot of like the clothing today. One thing I never liked about clothing, because I lived up in North Dakota, and it got awfully cold up there, and the wintertime we had to wear long underwear. Oh, I hated those things. And I would get to school and I'd roll mine all the way up and stick it in my pants because I didn't want it down on my legs. That was terrible. One time when a collector come to my door and knocked on my door, and I opened it up to talk to him, and my dog started to get out, so I shut the door so the dog couldn't get out, and I chased him behind the Davenport, and I told the man to stand outside there and talk because I didn't want the dog to get out. Well, he wrote it up in the papers, and he said, this lady with her vicious dog. And they chased me on the street and everything. Facing some of my operations has been awfully daring, I think. And trying new foods. Oh, and the days when they get out and paraded around and everything, I went out to the park with the other people and did crazy things. Well, any old thing. We weren't really protesting. We were just getting out there and yelling and getting in on the thing. That was what we were doing. Oh, I still have an awful lot of answers to know what's in this universe. Because every day you hear something more. I just heard something the other day about some stuff that they found on Mercury. And you wonder, gee, how is that stuff staying up there? How are we staying up there? What's controlling all this? Oh yeah, I have my mother's little Bible, which I don't know at the present moment where it's at. And I've got some of the blue glassware from her and some of the plate. And I had this little church back in Milwaukee that, oh, I don't know how old. It's about 25 years old now. And I got baptized there. That's Pentecostal. And the pastor's mother-in-law, they lived there right in the house, the pastor and his wife and the grandmother. And so her and I became great friends. And on Sunday after the first service, we would go get a lunch, and then we'd come back to their house, and her and I would curl up for a little hour nap before we went back for evening services. And we had a lot of potlucks and things there, and that was a great church until they got too many people in there, and it's not the same now. I was the only one that had a car, and I was the youngest one, and I could drive. The other two didn't have a car, so we would always go out to eat after church. Now those two ladies have both passed away. I'm the only one left. And the preacher's wife has passed away, and I think he's passed away. I haven't heard anything of him, and he was very ill. So I think he's passed away too. So I'm outliving them all. And one thing I know is when I got baptized, right after that, we were in a circle. We were in a prayer circle, and all this gang, it was about, I'd say 15 of us in a circle, and we were all praying and everything. And it come my turn to pray, and all of a sudden I just went out. I passed out. So everybody said, oh gosh, she's got diabetes. Maybe she's going into a coma. I said, no, I'm getting the Holy Ghost. No, leave me alone, leave me alone. And sure enough, and since then I've been able to speak in tongues. I don't do it all the time, but I always do it every night with my prayers, and I still can do it. So I know that when you see that happen lots of times on the TV and stuff, you think, oh, that's a lot of baloney. But no, that people do. Sure, I believe in heaven. Don't know if I'm going to go there or not, but it's up to him. Oh yeah, people were very different when I was a child. Everybody helped everybody. If you needed something, you just send one of the kids over to the farmer. If it was 10 miles, he walked and gave the message, because very few of us had phones. And if they did, they hardly worked any time. And they would send over and say, Mama needs a dozen eggs, or she needs some milk, can you spare anything? And they would give it to us, and we'd take it back home. To be polite, always say thank you, and to save. We were taught to save from the time I was umpteen. We never wasted anything. We even saved our chewing gum. I'm not kidding. We'd stick it on someplace and then we'd go back and pick it up and chew it some more. Didn't come very often. I'm always proud of the fact that I could do practically any craft. The only craft that kind of threw me sometimes was knitting. I was not too good at knitting. But I could paint, I could draw, I could write, I could color, practically everything. I knew every kind of crochet stitch and could do all that stuff. And I was a very good cook. I was noticed for my cooking. That's why we opened a restaurant. And I was proud of myself. Go and get baptized. I thought that was a big to-do for me. Oh, if I could do anything I wanted to do, I would love to be a dancer. I love dancing and to see a lot of it on TV, and that was what I always wanted to do, to get up and dance. It's very hard. Maybe if you're not disabled, so to speak, but I have so many things wrong with me and can't get around and do things, and that's very hard because I'm an active person. No, why not? I'm here, and I've got a great family, a lot of great grandkids, and great grandkids. No, I think I've been successful. Nobody's had me in jail yet. Well, I think the fact is I've never used a lot of makeup. I maybe put lipstick on once in a while, but I've always just used water on my face. Never been going. In fact, I don't like the feeling of cream on my face. I think that's a great privilege. I still think the Lord has me here for a reason, but I don't know what it is. But it'll appear. Maybe it's just to raise a big family. This thing going among us, so I'm going to be 100, you know. We always said that, but it was just a foolery thing. We never really think of it. And I sit now and I see everybody's gone, and I think, gee, how come I'm still here? It all gets together and gets some peace in this world. Every nation help every other nation. Because it's silly to everybody be fighting and people dying and nobody eating and things going on that shouldn't happen. I was a pretty good mother, I think. I was always a good cook. My kids never complained about eating. They all were good eaters, and people that knew me, nobody can say anything bad about me, I don't think.